So, welcome to the Reliable HVACR live stream and podcast. If you can't stay for the whole show, you can watch this later on YouTube or listen on the go anywhere you listen to your podcast, all major platforms. So, today I'm very ecstatic to have the guest that we have on today. You guys should already know who this man is. If not, please go check him out. He does a ton of great educational, fun HVAC content. So we have none other than Ty Branaman. Welcome to the stream, man.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
You got the little handout already.
One of them, yeah.
I feel like you have a collection of those now, don't you?
I do, yeah. Sometimes, we work in the trade and sometimes we just need a little hand,
One or many, yeah. So I appreciate you for coming on the show today. I'm a big fan. I love the educational content, the fun that you have with it, and the ease of following along with what you're explaining, and it helps a lot of us out here.
Oh, I just love it that people want to learn. Like, this trade has been awesome. It's taken care of me when life took everything else away. They can't take away the trade. And it's interesting, like what we do, like how it works, the science behind it. And, I just love to be able to figure that stuff out. And then for me, I struggle learning. So I love it when people want to learn and then I can relate to them and help other people out. That's awesome. One thing I can't teach people is I can't teach them how to be interested. But hopefully, if they want to learn more, then I'll do everything I can to get that to get it across to people.
All right, we got Brian. I appreciate the super chat, man. He's like, thanks for having Ty Brenneman, aka Mr. Little Hands.
Thank you, Brian.
I appreciate that, Brian. So yeah, that's one thing that I tell people, right? Is like you have if you get into skilled trades, that is one thing that can never be taken away from you. You learn that skill for life, and you can always get a job. You can always feed yourself, your family. So anybody that asks me about the trades, that's my number one thing is you learn a skill for life, and you'll always have a job or a way of getting a job.
That's exactly right, and I'm a testament to that. I've been around the world with this and moved right in the middle of the housing crunch. I moved to Miami, and like anywhere you go, you have these skills that can be applied.
Exactly. So quick intro on you. How many years have you been in this trade doing, whether it's, like teaching, being in the field, all that kind of stuff?
I don't keep up with how many years. I just remember I started in 1995. That's when my dad actually started paying me to do the work. So, I was always in the shop all the time, but my dad did sheet metal, ductwork, roofing. And so we used to rebuild evaporator drain pans. I mean, that's how, that's how far back it
Oh,
goes.
yeah.
So, yeah, I used to do those. We used to coat them with the cooler coat and, so there's been a lot of changes over the years.
Awesome. Eddie, I appreciate the super chat. Y'all are being too kind tonight. I feel like it's the positive energy going around. I feel like you give off that energy, that vibe. So you said 95 is when you started. Are you a second generation then? Or how many
Well,
generation?
my dad's a sheet metal man. He didn't do direct air conditioning. He did tons of duct work and
Oh,
transitions and everything. My great grandfather did air conditioning and real estate and ranching, and so I have his original set of gauges that I have
oh, no
in the
way.
original box. Yeah, so a lot of my oldest tools actually came, from him, and I still have the plans, some older plans that he had, and it
Hmm.
talks about heat load calculation for infiltration and heat loss. And so people say, "Oh, well, that square foot used to be square foot per ton," and I have literally the plans that are. I need to get them laminated, but they're super old, and it talks about heat loss, BTUs, and per room. So I tell people it's not new. We just had some habits along the way that we picked up that we have to relearn.
Oh, definitely. So I've been doing this. I'm going on like 16 years, I think. So I feel like maybe I should start collecting things, for later because I'm a first generation, so I don't have any of those antiques or any of that kind of stuff from my dad or my grandfather or anything. But I know another guy on Instagram that actually has or collects a lot of antique like emblems, like you said, the gauges, old Mercury thermostats that I've never seen that they would put in these like fancy mansions and stuff. Uh, what are you reaching for there?
Oh, so we talk about vacuum all the time, and people are like, "Oh, we didn't have to pull a vacuum before." Well, this is my first vacuum micron gauge, so it's let me see if I can get it
Is
opened
that
up.
what you used?
Yeah, this is my first one. So when people say, "Oh, well, this new vacuum," I'm like, well, it's not new. Like this is what we had. It was a temperature compensated for microns. So yeah, it's not a new thing. It's just now we have digital that makes it so much better.
Digital, battery powered now too, everything. Yeah, those are just bad habits that people pick up when they say like, "Oh, I've never done it. We've been fine. Never had a problem or this and that." I always tell them like, "How do you know that you never had a problem? It could have been like a problem for the next company, the next guy, or whatever it may be."
Oh, and that's so true, and I've learned that so many times of, "Oh, I never had a problem. I never saw the problem." Doesn't mean that the problem
Exactly.
wasn't there. And we talk about sling psychrometers. This one's from, like, the early 1900s, um, but it had this brass case, and you still had your wet bulb then at the bottom, and you would literally swing this around to get your, wet bulb and dry bulb and find humidity. So, yeah, all that stuff, it's not new, it's just, it's a lot easier with that digital stuff than having to carry one of these around.
Yeah, they actually showed us some of that stuff when I went to school, and they wanted to show us like how it was done before. And then, like, when we were in a class and stuff, whether it was like doing duct work or charging up a system, they wanted us to see or kind of do the old school way of doing things. And then they're like, yeah, once you get on the field, you can have somebody do it for you at the shop or, whatever it may be. And like, I felt old because I had that like to weigh in the charge. It was like a big cylinder, and we would weigh like measure it out, I guess, and weigh it in. Uh, that's as far back as they had us do stuff because I don't think I don't think they even had us using scales in class. I think we had to charge with that thing only, and that's how they taught us there.
And I still use that tool because it's a great way to show how refrigerant volume, the literally volume of refrigerant
Oh
changes with
yeah,
temperature. And so if you heat that cylinder up, you can see the liquid level literally rises in that cylinder. And that applies to, subcooling in the condenser on a hot day. It also applies to how much refrigerant is going to be in that recovery tank. So even some of that old stuff has, great applications where we can visually see that. We can see the weight of refrigerant, in volume. We can literally see that. So those old things like that, I want people to have because they're great teaching tools. Not that we're going to use them in the field, but
yeah,
they still have applications.
yeah, and that's kind of why they did stuff like that, and having us do even like the old benders, the spring style and different ways. They would have us do a lot of our little, I guess, projects or whatever we were being graded on, brazing and all that bending. They would have us do it, you know, I guess as old school as they could, right? For whatever they had there in the class. But like then they would have us do it that way. And then they'd be like, oh, when you get out in the field, it's a little easier. You got this tool, you got that tool. But here you're going to learn it this way, right? And then you get a better concept and you grasp it a little bit better.
Yeah, it's always good to have something to compare to. So if I start using a chart, for example, people are like, "Oh, a numbers chart, that's bad." But if I go through like a formula and like, "Oh my gosh, this is just overwhelming. It's too much." Oh, well, we have a shortcut. Now we have a chart. Oh, this chart's great. And then of
Yeah.
course now we have the apps. And so I've learned if I teach the harder ways first and then I show them and they use the app, now they appreciate the app. And this is a tool just as much as our gauges, and it's important to understand how to use it for good purposes. People say, "Oh, I don't want anybody on their phone." I want people on their phone for the right reasons because there's so much information here that makes our job easier and faster.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? When I started, I always tell people this is like there was no, I guess Facebook was around, but there wasn't much. You couldn't go online and find this stuff. I was always trying to find manuals, but even if I did find them, they took forever to download or whatever it may be. Like, all that stuff, it's very different now. Now you actually want people, like you said, on their phone. Like, if you don't know something, go look it up, go look up a video, download manuals. There's tons of companies like Blue On and others, Danfoss, have these incredible apps, and you can get the literature. And that's always going to be the best way to learn, in my opinion, because like I always tried looking up stuff if I was like at the job site, kind of stuck on it. My last resort was always calling tech support. I mean, I think all of us have to deal with that at some point. But I try to look it up on my own too, and then if I had time to go home, if I had the manual, like if we did, like an install or put in a new piece of equipment, I would take that manual with me and try and read through it because it tells you how the system works, how to maintain it, how to troubleshoot it. Even there's all that in the back of the book, so the
And
information is a lot easier now to get.
that's so important. It's difficult to read, right? I mean, it's not a fun read, but you have to make yourself do it. And if you take a highlighter and start highlighting things in there, and the more that you see these words, the more that you look at it, the easier that it comes. But things are changing, even from one brand to another. One brand will say specifically they want the suction line sloped towards the compressor, whereas another brand they want it sloped back towards the evaporator. So even though we see it one way, or we may have a habit of one way, doesn't mean it's going to be that way all the time. And then tomorrow they could change it in that manual. So that manual's not I struggle with reading, but those manuals are so important. There's so much valuable information in there.
Yeah, and I was never like a school person either. That's why, like, I got into HVAC at my school, at my college, and then like I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I hated, like I hate to admit it, but I hated going to school. Right? I hated reading. I hated all these other subjects, but HVAC, that caught my interest. Of course, we have to, if you go to college, you have to take all these courses like your math, your algebra, whatever it is, your basics. And then you get into the good stuff. You get into HVAC, you get into the electrical classes, the refrigeration. I had commercial refrigeration, I had an industrial class. Like at that point, I was like loving it. Of course, I wanted to be in the lab more. I wanted to do more hands on stuff, but they did a good job where I was at, trying to balance it. But if you really like, there was a point in time where I was just reading, reading, reading. Read the textbooks they give you, whatever they recommend, manuals, whatever you can find online. Just try to absorb it while you can, and it'll all make sense, later down the line.
And the more perspective, I get people that say, "Oh, my videos really help," or somebody says, "I'm too confusing," and that's okay. The more perspective that you get, the better. So look at many different varieties and start comparing the different things. So something I explain may be really confusing for somebody. Look over at my buddy Craig or Brian or Chris, and they'll be like, "Oh, that makes sense," or now it clicks. Or maybe they're watching their instructor and their instructor's doing his best, and then they say, "Hey, I found this video that helps really explain it." And so it's just that variety. And the more that you're in it, the more that you're immersed in it, the easier it comes. And that's one of my issues with just straight school is because you're getting all of this theory, but without actually applying it, it's very hard for it to stick. I mean, look at how much information we process every day, radio and TV and ads and billboards and driving and customers we talk to in our daily work. Your mind can't keep all that information. So it has to dump some of it. It's only going to
Yeah.
remember what either was frustrating, aggravating, or was repetition. So repeating it, seeing that information over and over again, doing it and being frustrated. I know people get in the field and like, "Oh, this is so frustrating. It looks so easy." I'm like, that's good. When you're frustrated and you get it, you're going to remember that forever versus somebody that was told it, they remembered it for a quiz and then it's done. So when you're
Yeah.
frustrated at work, that's going to be a good thing because you're going to remember it long term. So be okay with the frustration.
That's a good point because, like, I honestly, like, I did pretty well in my classes and stuff like that, but I don't remember like half the stuff that we did through the textbooks and all that. Everything I remember is hands-on, little moments where I messed up, mistakes here and there, and the same thing applied when I got into the field. I'll never make the same mistake twice. You learn as you go, and like you said, if you get frustrated, that's kind of a good thing. I mean, it's going to be a bad thing that day for you. You're going to have a bad day, but you will definitely not forget that moment, what you did wrong, and what you could do to do better. The next time, the next day.
And that's it. We got to keep trying. We got to keep moving forward. When you ask me about how long I've been doing this, I don't keep up with that because I don't think that it's really relevant because I see people that's been doing it a short period of time that know a lot more than people doing it a long period of time. So just because we're doing something doesn't mean that it's, going to be applied because there's been many years that I wasn't on that learning curve and it felt like it was, a real waste. And I meet people that's, "Oh, I've been doing this for, 40 years." I'm like, "Well, you've been doing it for 40 years wrong. I don't know what to tell you." And it's just that being in that learning mindset. And it's crazy because the people that I go to, the people that just Like they make me look like a complete idiot because they know so much stuff. And I go to them and I'm like, hey, I need help with this, or need you to explain this to me. And they always take the time to explain it. And those people I go to that are like, people that know physics and like all this crazy stuff that I could never do, they're always still learning. Like they're still going and learning new stuff and applying new stuff. So the key to it is to keep learning and keep building those skills.
Exactly, and that's a good point. Janet, was it? No, clicked on the wrong one.
And
Okay,
they asked
so
they asked where I was
go.
from, and I'm originally from Texas, but I've been all over the country and halfway around the world. So originally from Texas, and that's where I'm at again now. So to answer that question in the chat.
Oh, so you're originally from Texas? Because I
Yeah, I
had.
was born in Texas. Yep.
Oh, awesome. I run into a lot of fellow Texans online doing this, the podcast and the Instagram, and it's good to know a lot of guys out here are sharing, knowledge and stuff like that, and they're fellow Texans.
Well, I didn't want. It wasn't like I planned on doing this. It was just I love sharing information and helping people. And then somebody's like, "Hey, can you make a video about this?" And then next thing we know, there's here we are with people asking questions. And hey, if somebody wants to learn, like I'll do it. So that's how I ended up on TikTok. So people said, "Hey, there's more younger people in TikTok that really want to know this, and can you make some videos there?" So I started doing that, and there's a learning curve because my generation doesn't naturally do that, but I'm learning because if I adapt to that and help people out, I mean that's our ultimate goal, right? It's not just about fixing the air conditioners, which is great. Building skills with your hands, great, but when you get to
Yeah,
actually help other people, I mean that's nothing compares to that.
it's a weird thing because like when I started my channel, because I started on YouTube and I migrated to Instagram and TikTok. I'm trying to figure that out too, but uh, I started because I run a business. I was trying to advertise a little bit. Then I was like, that's not working. I was getting people from like all over the country, all over the world looking at my stuff. So then, I started posting the work that we do and all that. So after that, then, people started saying that this stuff kind of actually helped them, even if I was posting just like mistakes that I did or tips and tricks that I might have learned along the way. So it's a good community. It's growing at a rapid pace right now, and I love to see it.
So somebody had asked if I'd written any books, and I'd written a quick reference guide for HVAC, kind of like a Chilton's manual of how to do individual things. And I had a school that wanted to use that and publish it, so I allowed them to publish it, and they fixed all of my massive grammar mistakes. But then they took the book and they said it was theirs, and I didn't have any right to it, even though I'd worked on it for years before I ever went there. So I do have a book, and I have no intention of rewriting it. And the legal stuff of trying to get copyrights fixed is just more money than I could ever have. And so I have done it, and I don't know, it's a lot of work, so I don't know if I'm going to do that again. But the videos are really, I think, the text is kind of, it's just a reference. So I think the videos are more applicable because you can make it interesting to where you're not going to sit down and read something. But if somebody says, somebody's talking about a scroll piece, and it's like, oh, that's interesting. What is that? Even if you don't do HVAC, you can see something that catch your interest, and then you'll watch it and learn. And that's one of the beauties behind TikTok is I'm learning stuff about geography and
Oh yeah.
rocks and space. And, there's just like some piece there that's not going to benefit me in overall, but it's just interesting. It's fun to learn that new stuff.
Yeah, and I think I can speak for a lot of us in the trade. We're better at learning visually than anything, and then that's why podcasts are popular now, audiobooks, stuff like that. Because I mean, it's a shame, we don't read as much as we probably should, but it's so much easier. And then for people that are on the go a lot, they can listen to this stuff and take in the information a lot easier visually, with videos, especially like the uh, short form content where they don't have to be there too long and they get the gist of it and they can see it. That's great.
Absolutely. Even in the books where I have these really good drawings or really good 3D stuff, just nothing compares to, cutting it open and getting to feel it and see how it moves. And, even smelling the oil, smelling that burnt oil or smelling good oil. And, just that aspect. I think there's a name for that in education. I can't remember what it is, but, just that, touching it and feeling it firsthand is really cool. So if somebody sees it in a video and then later they could be like, you know what, I want to start cutting compressors open and see why they failed, that takes you to a whole nother level. So if I can inspire somebody to be like, hey, I want to know why that failed, or to then go to the text and read it, I call that a win.
Yeah, to be curious about why it failed and all that, and then just also you have a lot of good information out there where there's stuff that I didn't know about, and I watched one of your videos and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense, or I didn't know that before, or I didn't know that was inside of that component, or whatever it may be. And it's always good to have that kind of knowledge, and then you kind of have a better understanding of the equipment you're working on and what it should or shouldn't be doing, or what aspects of the, like, if you have an issue going on with it, what can cause that problem, how it affects like a compressor or a valve or anything like that too.
That's right. And a lot of the information I got was difficult for me to obtain and absorb and apply it. I worked for a very large manufacturer doing their education stuff, and I had to read and go through PowerPoints. And literally, the class we read PowerPoints, and I despise PowerPoints. But I took all this information, and I'm trying to share it to people. So it was their information. I gotta be careful what I share, but then I'm like, hey, let's share this to more people so that everybody can see this information. And sometimes it gets challenging because you get somebody that's been doing it some way for a very long time, and they don't want to hear anything different, they feel like they're personally attacked. If I say, hey, there's more to that, how dare you attack me? I'm like, well, I actually could attack you. I try not to, but sometimes you're having a bad day. You come up in a hot attic and there's somebody just, slamming you. I'll sometimes reply not the nicest way. And then, an hour later, I log back on and I'll delete it. But, it's not a personal attack when we're learning stuff. It's just, hey, I want to share information. So I've kind of found who I can share information with and who I can't on social media. And I usually send them a private message and like, hey, I'm not trying to offend you,
Oh,
but I thought you would like to, see this. And most people are really acceptive, and some people aren't, and that's okay too. I just like, hey, do your thing. It's okay. I'm not trying to call anybody out. I learned stuff, and it's for me when I realized like some of the compressors I'd replaced. And I was using the wrong I was using acid away, and I thought it was great. And then I learned about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not good. I was doing it wrong. I'm not telling it because I'm better. I was doing it wrong, and I learned a better way. So I want to do that to help people see. It's not about being better. It's about improving, and I'm
of
always improving
course.
every single day.
Of course. And I run into that too in person with people that I run into, right? And it's like before this whole Instagram or whatever, being on social media with this HVAC community, I would try and talk to some of the other contractors, or whoever was in the supply houses and stuff. And then like you say something that they don't like, that, you're trying to correct them or tell them how you're doing stuff. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, back away, I'm not trying to come at you, you do you. I kind of just started letting it go. But then I found this whole community online, and it's like we're trying to help each other be better. It's not about it. Well, hopefully, it's not about attacking each other. I've learned a lot from guys that are in the field, like Chris Stevens and Rick from HVACR Survival. I think Steve-O, everything HVAC is in here too. Seeing the field stuff has been helpful too, and then watching your content, Craig's on AC Service Tech, and Brian Orr, HVAC School. I get to see, like, and you guys are awesome for doing the cutaways. You and Craig, and then Brian's doing that whole visual, like, animation stuff now. That's all amazing because I soak it in. I can see what's going on, and I can have a better understanding. So all that's been great. Being able to talk to other people on Instagram, YouTube, whatever it may be. And I've even asked you questions about stuff, and Chris, I've asked him questions, and Craig, and I get honest feedback, right? It's not like we're criticizing each other or attacking. It's just being helpful.
And it's great to have people that we can rely on. I mean, I've asked so many people so many questions. And sometimes it's like I look back later, I'm thinking, yeah, that's a stupid question. Why'd I ask that? But it's sometimes we just need that, we get that brick wall in front of us and we need to ask the question. We need to be able to feel comfortable to ask that question. And it's great to have all these great people that I can call on and be like, hey, is this right? Or I'll put a video out and there's something wrong and I got to pull it back down, and fix something. I don't fix spelling mistakes. So, just go with that. But, other stuff that's technically wrong, I'm like, hey, let's talk about it. And it's great because these people are giving sourced information. And sometimes it's funny because we'll have like these, really big heated arguments. But when all the information's brought out and you have the sourced information, that's how we really get to learn. And we sometimes get to see when you have an argument with somebody and you're bringing facts, you either learn that you were wrong and you'll never forget that, or that you learn that you were right and you feel good about it and you'll never forget it. So those kind of
Yeah.
things are, really productive.
Yeah, we got Zachary in here. Ego kills your ability to learn and grow. Arrogant people usually know the least and talk the most. I find that very true.
And I've been on the ego side,
Yeah,
I've been there. So it's not like it's not a one set and done. We have to keep striving for that. It's the growth versus fixed mindset. And we naturally end up getting into fixed mindset. And we have to keep pushing to stay on the growth mindset. And that's okay. Sometimes I have people that remind me, it's like, Ty, you were being a little harsh there. And you know what? You're right. And I may argue first, but I'm like, yeah, you know what? You're right. And I go back and correct it or apologize. Even if it's not something I particularly did wrong, you know what? Let's just apologize, because that's an easy way just to solve an issue so we can move forward.
exactly. So you still work in the field, correct? Because I know we all know you from like the teaching educational videos, but you actually still do work in the field.
Yep, I work part time in the field. I was doing consulting stuff last year where I was traveling around solving problems for people and teaching their techs on the job how to solve their own problems. The problem was companies kept wanting me to work for them and they would take on more and more stuff. And I'm like, I'm not here to be your employee. Then they would get mad that you wouldn't work for them. I'm like, I don't want to be owned, I guess. I don't want to be working for
Yeah.
one individual person. So this year, a friend of mine, he needed help this year. And so I've been here working locally, helping him out, and because that pays better than anything else. And but I tell you, this year was been rough. I always remember, going in attics, but I don't remember it being this hard. So sometimes we remember things differently. We have that romanticized about it, because I swear attics this year have gotten hotter and more humid than ever before. And really, it's not the case. It's me, right? I've gotten older and fatter, and it's good though to be in the field. And so we talk about the theory, we talk about the stuff. I feel it's also important to keep applying it and to keep seeing it and see how that applies to changes, such as the inverter systems and, variable refrigerant flow systems. So I think it's important to stay in touch with the field as much as possible, even if an instructor only has to do it for, a week at a time, to be in the field to make sure that what we're teaching and that theory is still relevant, or how to adapt that theory to what's happening right now.
Yeah. And so you were a consultant before. Now you're doing, is it like residential work, commercial work? What kind of work do you do?
Residential and commercial both. Yeah.
Oh, so you
I
oh, go
like
ahead.
walk-in coolers and freezers and refrigeration. That's what I really like. But you got to really be married to that. You can't just come in and do it a little bit and then leave. Residential and like commercial, I can come in, solve problems, fix stuff, and I can come in and out as I need. So I'd really like to do more with the supermarket, because that's fun, all the controls. My second thing that I really enjoy doing is building science. And that's something you also have to be, married to and settle down to one spot. But I love the building science. I've been learning a lot about that and how to solve bigger issues, deeper issues than I ever looked at before. So that's been really cool. And I definitely want to get into more of that actual testing. And so hopefully, as I travel around our next road trip, I can do some more testing in different climates to see how, to firsthand see how that is affecting different clients. Because Florida versus Vegas versus, Maine versus Seattle I mean, they're so drastically different.
Yeah, we have, well, anytime I bring someone on, if they're from another state or anything, I always ask them about the weather, the different things, because like all that affects the equipment and the kind of different problems we see. And I've had a lot of requests for some people from Colorado. So pretty soon I'll have some of those guys on here so we can talk about that whole situation, where they deal with the different, um, it's a whole different climate over there. The
Yeah,
pressure, the all that
you have to
stuff,
deal
yeah.
with being high, right? I mean,
Yeah,
altitude, sorry, altitude,
altitude,
right?
yeah. I was trying to remember the word right now. I was like, yeah, the altitude. They have to deal with that, and it's very different versus any other place, honestly. So here we deal with a lot of like humidity, dry heat, or not dry heat, humidity down here. I think up north they get dry heat, and it's a very different type of heat, type of heat too. And I feel like this summer has been pretty hot. I'm gonna blame it on the weather. It feels a lot hotter on the roof this year. So I try to take measures to, stay out or stay in the shade, stay covered. I'm getting old too, so I feel like I just got some tool bags with wheels, make sure I try to carry the least amount of stuff, lighten the load a little bit. Whatever you can do. I just bought some knee pads today too. Hopefully I'll remember to put them on.
Well, doesn't the equipment come with knee pads? That comes in a little clear plastic sack. Oh wait, those are instructions. I'm sorry, I keep getting those mixed up.
If they even make or if they even put them away in the unit. Sometimes I don't even find them.
Oh no.
Uh yeah, so let me look at the
Man, the
questions real
chat is
quick.
rocking. I can't keep up with everybody. It is flowing. That's cool. Thanks everybody for being here. That's a great question. I'm sorry I can't keep up with everybody. I don't have any tattoos. I'm sorry. I do not like needles. Just I don't have anything against tattoos. I just don't like needles.
So how did you get into the trade yourself? Is I know you said your dad was a sheet metal guy, but your grandfather was the one that was into like air conditioning on that side?
Yeah, and I didn't want to do it's not like I was like, "You know what? I want to do air conditioning." I wanted to do, farm and ranch work, and, I had a guy that wanted me to come out to his ranch and run it for him, and then I talked to these people like, "Hey, that's great now, but in 5 years from now, you're gonna be tired, and there's gonna be some other kid out of high school that can do the same thing, and you won't have gained anything." So then I wanted to be a heavy equipment operator, and then I have to talk to these people, say, "Well, one of these days, these tractors will be able to drive themselves, and, that's not a great thing, why don't you, do this or do that." So I just tried a bunch of different things. And then when I got into a different employer and we were doing installs, and I did not like installs. So this guy drove up in this van and he had this big old Slurpee cup, and everybody run out and talk to him. I had to stay running ductwork on my knees, pulling flex. But I was like, man, is that one of the bosses? Like, oh no, that's just a service tech. I'm like, well, how do you get that job? Because that's what I want to do. I want to ride around in the van and come talk to people and not even have to get out of the air conditioning. Like, that's what I want to do. And I was like, oh yeah, you got to learn stuff and you got to read books and stuff. I'm like, sold. Like, I will do it. I will figure it out. And that was my goal. And I didn't let anything get in my way. And I got in that service van and I realized, you do have to be in the attic, but it was so much better than being in that same exact location all day. And so I absolutely loved running service calls and figuring stuff out and something's new and different. And that's, ADHD before we had a name for it. The ADHD people make the greatest service technicians because they like chaos when everything's wrong and they're going in and they start looking at this problem and that problem and they're starting seeing everything that's happening, and then they find out the connection between things and they fix it, and then they fix it and the customer's happy and you get that boost and you feel
Oh
good.
yeah.
Then you go to the next house and then you can work all night long doing service calls. And so ADHD, I've learned over the years is great. They make us a great position for a service technician, and then from there, just, kept learning and asking more questions. And, I've had little sidetracks where I wanted to be a chiller technician and spending all winter pressure washing the chilling towers and then running the rods through. I was like, that wasn't fun. And then I wanted to be a boiler maker. So that was one day being a boiler maker. I was like, nope, I don't want to do that. And so, I've just tried different things. I think it's important to just try different stuff and then
Yeah.
take your passion with you. What if you're sweeping the floor? Just be the best person that ever swept that floor. Do it the best that you possibly ever can.
That's a good point. And yeah, I tell people that too, the whole ADHD, the ADD thing. I never said that I had it or claimed to have it, but I like being in different places, traveling, seeing different kinds of equipment, being at different locations throughout the day. That's a day's work. You go to several different spots, fix several different problems. They're not all going to be the same, and you get a variety, and it keeps me, I guess, entertained. I don't get bored of it. And if I were to sit at a desk all day or do the same thing and be in one spot, granted, I love all the guys that do the awesome install work, construction, all that stuff. That's great for some people, but for some people like us, we want to be out there, you know, uh, getting challenged and doing different things throughout the day. And I love traveling, so like I said, we service about 2 hours each way. So sometimes I'll hit up, the beach that's close by here, and that's, my service call or two for the day there, and then I'll head out to the middle of nowhere and the other way and be out there for a couple hours too. So
And
variety
it's
is great.
and it's cool the people that you get to meet and the stories and the connections. And you'll get that lady that will make you your favorite pie when you come out, or you're at the penthouse in South Beach, Miami, that only a few people get to go to. In Texas, I was driving out to a service call and there was zebra, like, and his private bridges and zebra running out there, and I was like, what where am I? In Las Vegas, getting to see some of those mechanical rooms. I mean, it's just, there's so much cool stuff in HVAC. So when somebody says they get, bored of the HVAC, I'm like, how? Because there is so much to it. You can never learn it all. I'm trying. I'm falling way short, but there's so much to it. It's such an awesome trade.
And that's great. Like the whole, like the people you get to meet, and then you get to network with all these people, and like you said, they might help you out later on. Or we do commercial work, so I do a lot of restaurants, hospitals. People always ask me if I eat at these places. Like, yeah, they're gonna offer you free food here and there. You might not want to take it every day, but there's little perks there. You get to meet great people. They'll take care of you if you take care of them. That rewarding feeling that you get them their equipment going, that freezer that breaks down in the middle of the night. I have to deal with plenty of those. The eight for me on the AC side, it's usually because they have a dining room that people eat in. Customers will walk out, they'll lose money on that kind of stuff. So their AC has to be working. All that stuff, you figure it out, you fix it. It's rewarding too, and these people are greatly appreciative that you go out there and fix it in a timely manner. So all that stuff is interesting to me, and I get a joy out of it most days. I mean, some days I'll come home late, I'm tired, I'm frustrated, I don't want to deal with it. I'm like, I'm not, I'll think about it tomorrow. But most days I enjoy it.
That's exactly right. Every day is going to have its challenging. But the thing that we forget is the good days wouldn't be so great without those challenging days. I mean, if everything was a good
Yeah.
day, we would just take it for granted. So having those days that are challenging, I look back at some of the worst parts of my life where I didn't even know if I was going to make it. And it's just, those times really give us the appreciate what we have now. So there's always things we want more, we want to do more, but it's important for us to also look back and look around and see, a lot of other people, everybody in America, even people on the street can go and get food somewhere. So we are so blessed just being here in this country, and we have opportunities. And so yeah, sometimes life happens and there's obstacles and things get in their way. But that's the journey. That's part of what we do. There's where so much growth happens. So that destination where something's easy or fun isn't the true win. The true win's that path getting there. And when I'm teaching, that's what I love about teaching, is because there's so many people like me that are difficult, with learning. So when I get to
Hmm.
see people like me, I can identify ADHD pretty early on. And those are the people I really strive at, because the people that's naturally, good at learning, it doesn't matter if it's, just a boring presentation or if it's active, they're still going to learn. But if you have
Hmm.
somebody that's having a hard time focusing, like me, um, and if you can keep that person interested, then you're winning on two different fronts. And that's what I love about teaching, is because it's something different all the time. You can have a classroom, the same class, and put one new student in that same class, and it changes the dynamic of the entire classroom. And then you got to figure out how to explain something all over again, because this doesn't work anymore. I used to connect with cars, with automotive, but now we have generations that didn't work on cars and garages, so they don't understand about starters and
Hmm.
tires and brakes, and so you have to figure out another way to relate to them. And it's challenging, but it's fun, like having to think, how can I explain this where they'll understand it? How can I change this up to make it more interesting? And it's that is has been more fun than the service side, because now you're getting to work with people changing and air conditioning sometimes, which is super awesome.
That's awesome. Jennifer had a question. What is your favorite book?
Oh, my favorite book now is the one from Brian Orr, about the wanting to learn. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it right now. That's probably my favorite book, because it's so many things that I have said and I've been promoting, and I just couldn't put it into words. And Brian put that in the words about training new generations, about your own path. There was so much stuff packed in that one thing. That has to be my ultimate favorite book. I don't think there's anything else. I've already gone through that one twice, and I have my note cards and my highlighters, and I write my notes on the side and have my index card so I can see it as I read. But that would have to be hands down my favorite book.
I might have to check that out. That sounds like an awesome book.
Oh, and an audio version just came out too, so it's even
Oh,
easier.
even better. Let's see. Zachary, teaching is the hardest job on the planet. I second that. I know how hard it is. It's also it also truly push your knowledge and understand the topic to the limit. So it is. I don't downplay that whatsoever. Teaching, I couldn't do it. I've actually been asked about it if I would ever want to, and I'm like, oh, I don't know about that.
My wife just brought it in, the book, Unconformed. That was the name of it. You're absolutely right. Teaching is the most challenging because you can't just with the mechanical, if something breaks, you can find out what broke and you can find out what to do to even make it better. But when it's a person, there's not just a one thing that you can fix. And even at that, even if you get somebody that's really excited about learning, like there's only so much you can do. And if there's somebody that doesn't want to learn, there's only so much that you can do. So your job is not to fix the people. Your job is to make them one step better. Wherever they are, get them one step better, get them excited about it. And when you get that part down and you have and you learn patience, because I didn't have patience when I started teaching, but you learn to have patience. I've learned more by teaching than I ever did by action in the field. I've had so many times I'll be teaching something to somebody and they keep asking why, and I keep going deeper. And then I've had these moments where I had to literally stop, be like, you know what, that explains in 2003, this one call that I couldn't figure this out. Like it just, you had this epiphany. It's like, now I get it. So when you're teaching, you learn more. So like the school systems, all the education systems are so broken. Don't do it because you're going to try to make any money because they don't pay. Don't do it because it's going to be easy because it's the administration is so frustrating. They don't understand or appreciate trades at all for the most part. Do it because you're going to learn more and you're going to be able to help somebody else understand more.
Yeah, awesome. So did you? I know we talked a little bit before the show started, but you didn't go to school yourself, right? I mean, did you learn in the field? Did somebody teach you this
I
trade?
barely made it through high school. I had one teacher that I was about to drop out because I was working, after school doing different things and making more money. So I almost didn't make it through high school. And then I had one teacher's like, hey, just get this one certification done, this one thing, and you can go on from there. And so I did. And I had no intention of going to college. And our college didn't have any kind of trades at all. It was like, what do you want to be for the rest of your life? You're 18. What do you want to be for the rest of your life? Like, I don't know. I don't want to be in a classroom. And
Yeah,
now I'm in the classroom. So no, I didn't go to trade school, but I don't think going to college means that college and learning are not always connected. Learning happens all the time, and college is one path. A good community college is a path. There's some great instructors out there that fight the hard fight every day, and there's also instructors out there that they've given up on the fight. It's just they've been broken down by administration, or maybe they've only have a few years of experience and they just got hired at a school. I'm trying to be politically correct here. Um, and it's frustrating because there's a lot of people that depend on somebody having that knowledge, and I think that the colleges need to appreciate everybody needs to appreciate tradespeople because we saw
yeah,
it during the shutdown. Like if without the tradespeople, we're not the society's not going to run. So we need to appreciate that. So the trade schools need to actually appreciate the trade that they're teaching and promoting. They need to appreciate the instructors, and they need to also be teaching the instructors. I don't know how many times I've been to trade schools and an instructor hasn't learned anything new in like 20 years. And I think if you're going to be teaching, you need to be learning more than you're teaching. So it's just some of my frustrations about that. But I mean, it really comes down to we can't fix everything. We can only do what we can do. So if you're out there and you have somebody that you're teaching or working with, help them the best they can. If you have somebody online that's trying to understand something, answer it the best you can, whether it's in text or make a video. Even if it's somebody changing filters. I hate this when people say, I'm just a filter changer. That job is so important. Let's give that person a respect because those filters, we've seen what happens when you don't change filter. So go into a commercial job, if somebody's changing filters, let's give them that respect. Like, yeah. And then let's let them move up. Let's motivate them. Hey, you want to learn more? Hey, let's move you up into the next thing or do it part-time. So now they're excited about this great career. And I love this career. So let's get people excited about it. And I can't fix the industry. But what I can do is the people I'm directly connected with, I can do as much as I can with them. And then maybe they can do a little bit more with somebody else. And that's how we fix it.
yeah, and like that's the whole thing with the social media stuff is like I'm glad that more people are posting because you might not think it's helpful or of importance to you, but like the next guy, the guy coming in to the trades, a kid might see it and they think it's interesting and they want to get into it. That sparks their interest or something like that. We need all this content. So if you guys are just changing filters, talk about it, post about it, teach somebody about it. What do you do on your filter change? What do you do on your maintenance? Some people don't even go through the whole system. Maybe you should teach them how you do it. All that's great. I encourage everybody to share what they know, and then you'll learn. I mean, you'll learn also as you go, but just share as you go. um
And cut stuff open. Be curious yourself. When you look in here and you see there's a blue tint in there, what caused that? Why did that happen? And then go find the answers. Be curious yourself, and then don't be afraid to say you don't know something. And then if you're whoever you're training, whoever's people are watching you all the time, and hopefully they'll be like, "Hey, let's find out," or they'll look it up, and everybody works together. But yeah, cutting stuff open, seeing how this works. This floating seal, I didn't know about this 2 years ago. I didn't know what this was. Such an important piece of this compressor and how it works is that floating seal. So be curious, and be curious when you're training people. Be curious on yourself, and learn, learn, learn. There's so much out there.
yeah, we need to pass this knowledge on and stuff like that. Like I can't wait, to kind of show my kids about the trade, and at least to check little things or know little things, because even if they don't get into the trade, maybe they can know how to work on their car, know how to work on their house, be a handy person around the house, stuff like that. Because being in HVAC, at least you do a little bit of everything. You do plumbing, electrical, construction. You're demoing stuff too. Like there's a little bit of everything that goes into it, and it's a good trade to be in and to learn different skills. And kind of be you get to be helpful outside of HVAC as well.
That's right. When I was in Australia, I couldn't do HVAC because the laws, and had to go through their whole entire school program, and it was frustrating. But I went over to the sugar mill, and they had a job opening, and I went give my resume, and they're like, "Oh, you're a Friggy, mate. Oh, well, you can do anything, mate." And so I got a job working as a fugal operator in Australia, and the sugar dryer and all this mechanical stuff, and I just related everything to HVAC. But what we do in HVAC, and we have to understand plumbing, thermodynamics, mechanical stuff, hands-on things, electrical. Like really, we have I think the most complicated of all the trades, because we have to understand everything else. And it's cool when you get to apply that to other things, whether it's automotive or, working in your own house or taking your toaster apart. Like there's HVAC components in all of this.
Yeah, like I had an episode last week about I had, because I do mostly kitchen refrigeration, and we kind of do that like the ACs in the restaurants and stuff like that. So I kind of have a niche there, and I had other guys that also did kitchen work, and they did a little bit of both. They did the cooking equipment and the HVAC side, refrigeration, all that. And we were talking about it because they're like, yeah, we get a little bit bored on the hot side and the cooking equipment because it's all the same. I mean, nothing bad about it. My dad does that kind of work, and it does take a lot of knowledge and keeping up to date, just like with HVAC on all that equipment. But one of the guys brought up a point that you might like refrigeration more because there's more variables in it. The outside temperature has a lot to do with how certain components work, like on a walk-in freezer, stuff like that. Ice machines have so many dependent parts. The fan cycle switches. All this other stuff that compensate for whatever the ambient is. So there's a lot of factors in it, and that's what I also enjoy about it. And you have to take that into account as well. As like is like I've been working lately for some walk-in boxes that are just falling apart. The doors are falling apart. The box itself, I'm telling them there's infiltration everywhere. It's not sealing properly, and they wonder why they get condensation, humidity. The temp takes forever to drop and stuff like that. So we have to tell them and kind of educate them a little bit about all these other factors that come into play, and you have to constantly be thinking about, you can't focus on one thing, right? It's not always low on charge. It's not always something simple like that. You might have a bad door, a bad seal. Something might be going on with, like I said, a fan cycle switch, or something that has to do with the outside factors.
That's so true. I mean, I went to one not too long ago, and the door was completely split apart, where it had been frozen, and they kept screwing it together, and they had a fence latch on it trying to make it connect. Did you know back in the 90s we had flavored ice? Did you know
What
that?
do you
Yeah, we had
flavored ice?
vanilla ice back in the 90s. We had vanilla ice. It was quite popular. Never heard of vanilla ice? No.
Oh, dude. You had me
Sorry.
going for a minute. I was like, all right. I was like, I'm interested. Go ahead. But yeah, I've been dealing with that lately too. And we on that show last week we talked about like also like the because we do kitchen work, like I said, a lot of these reaching coolers, they're open case coolers, they're prep coolers, they're not designed to cool all day if the doors are open and all that, like if it's left open. And I'm like, sometimes you go in there and it might be the AC not working, right? You got a bunch of hot air and that cooler's working 10 times as hard and stuff like that. So there's factors and variables that are tough, but they're also interesting.
And somebody had a good point in the chat was to take things open and see why they failed, especially things like start kits. You take those potential relays apart and you get to see how many times those contacts are closed. You know, start
Yeah.
kits kill compressors. When they stick closed, it'll take a compressor out. So yeah, opening up, even if it's a relay, control boards, pop those pieces open, see what overheated, and be curious about that. Doesn't mean you're gonna have to solder control boards, but there's people now starting to do it, especially with these inverter systems, and you have these
Yeah.
fuses that are brazed on there. So start doing that now with some old stuff you pull out. Start seeing why it failed, and take a gas furnace and take all those pieces out. Build your own training boards and try different things, and see build that curiosity, see why it failed, what happened, and could you not on a customer's unit, but when you could you replace that one little part and make it work again? Because these are things that could help you out later, especially now with more and more inverter stuff.
Yeah, like when I started, I was just, replacing parts because I knew they were bad or whatever it may be. Then I started getting curious. I would take apart the contactors, like you said, the relays, like the potential relays, figuring out like what happened. Did they, was it the contacts? Did they get welded shut? Stuff like that. Because then like a walk-in freezers, coolers, single phase, they have those whole starting components. You have the potential relay, the start capacitor, the run capacitor. And I started telling people because it happened to me, I would replace one and then like it would fail again. But you need to replace them and see why they gave out because the capacitor might have given out, but it was actually the potential relay that got welded shut or something, and it made that whole problem uh, or whole headache that you had there. And the more you know, you'll know for next time. And all the experience is good. And just being curious, like you said, taking apart, like I took apart contactors, relays, anything I could. I haven't got into the whole cutting open like you, compressors. I know a lot of people do it now, and it's interesting. I like seeing it. I actually saw one of yours where you were talking about copper plating on I think it was on compressors, because there's not enough people pulling the right amount of microns or pulling a deep enough vacuum, and you have all that issue. Yeah, the copper plating, and it makes the compressor work harder. Those are the ones that end up failing, all that.
And we talked about the vacuum being important, but another thing that's a big issue is taking the hoses off. Just by not purging them out correctly, or going through those extra steps, or bleeding it through the manifold, and there's that little air gap. We
Sure.
were using these before. I call them analog probes, and a friend of mine hates it when I say that. But the lollipops. We didn't have hoses, and we use this in refrigeration a lot. And so, when people refuse to go with the digital probes, I'm like, well, at least use these,
Yeah.
because that way you don't have to worry about any contamination, or you really reduce the risk of contamination. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Like I said, when I started, I kind of went out there and I had to learn as I went. I was not aware of all the proper procedures and stuff like that. And I used the manifold for everything. And then I quickly realized, it's hard to purge all these lines and get everything out of these hoses. And even when you would take off the hose, right, the refrigerant that gets left behind when you're disconnecting, all that's from the hose. So yeah, if you don't want to use probes, use the stubbies. Some people even use the short hoses too, like I work on a lot of ice machines, and that stuff is kind of critical on the charge. So you got to be careful using hoses. So whatever you need. I mean, there's like you said, this stuff has been around forever. Like it's not like probes were the first version of this. We had those analog stubbies and stuff. It's always been around. It's just whether you have the right habits or not, or the good practices.
That's right. And there's so much to this. Don't try to be the perfect tech all the time. Just try to do something better as soon as you can. Just try to do a little better way. Learn something new, try a better way, build those skills. Because you don't want to be doing this and then after 40 years you realize you've been doing it the same way you did, the first 1 and 2 years. You want to be thinking, bigger because new technology is coming. New ways of doing stuff are coming. I mean, everybody hates microchannel, but it's here. And you got these little bitty it's not going to focus. These little bitty micro channels, and if you don't braze with the nitrogen flow, you're going to clog up those compared to the giant tube and fins.
I've been waiting to work on one because I had one leak, but it was like 5 hours out, and I think the other company said they needed a new compressor or something, and they said they needed like two of them, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. So we went out there. We found forgot was the first one had a wiring issue, so it was never going to come on. The second one emptied out, so it has a microchannel, and I guess they nicked it with the because it had hail guards. It was a train RTU, and they nicked it. So I was like, I'm not gonna just replace the compressor. You have a leak over here. The whole thing leaked out. So they need a microchannel repair. I just haven't been approved for it yet, and I just haven't had a chance to work on too many. But we did put in an RTU that's here close by, and they have microchannel evaporators too now, and I've never seen that before. So I started seeing that, and like you said, you might not like it, but it's coming. It's supposed to be more efficient. Uh, the volume, all that kind of stuff, plays into a factor, but it's coming whether you like it or not. You're gonna have to work on it.
That's exactly right. And the more that you're familiar with it, then the easier it comes. Somebody had asked, they wanted to see the
The
hand
hands.
collection. So I have whoops, I never get this right. Yeah. I got a whole variety of them like this. It's I don't know, it's just kind of quirky and fun and just whatever you can do to change things up. In my classroom we kept Crayolas, so we would do refrigeration cycle and crayons and we'd color things in, to add. And so this is just black and white paper, let's make it more interesting, let's make it more fun. And so we'd have crayons, and sometimes you get somebody that's like, I refuse to use crayons. I'm like, okay, fine, do whatever you want, like you're an adult, but it's more fun. Let's play with fun stuff, let's have fun with this. And I used to be very strict and very proper, and I used to plan everything out, and I realized no matter how much you plan, you can't plan your life. And so let's just have fun along the way. Let's have goals. Absolutely have
Yeah,
goals. Work towards them, but yeah, let's have fun along the way and work around the problems.
yeah. If it's not fun in the classroom, I mean, you're just not gonna want to be there, and it's gonna go in one ear and out the other.
Yes, and I let them color outside the lines.
We have Tom here. He said he taught his son. It was. I was talking about it earlier. I would hope to teach my kids, some of the skill trades and stuff. So that's cool that we can pass down this knowledge. Like you said, a skill is something you learn for life, and it's something you can pass along. Right? You teach somebody how to be a HVAC, electrician, plumber, whatever it may be. They have that skill now that they can do whatever they want with it. Whether they want to go look for a job for that, get into a neighboring trade, because like some guys, this is not their first trade, the HVAC stuff. They get into it because they did something else, whether it was being an electrician or something like that. You might get into a different trade, getting your foot in the door.
So I've had students that left HVAC, and I was like, they were great students, and there's a variety of issues, and I've explored it to see why people don't stay in HVAC. But sometimes it's just a matter of somebody got started doing something, and then they realized, man, they like plumbing better or they like electrical better, and it's just that's okay too. But also HVAC's so big, I'm like, try different things within the trade. But I think with plumbing and electrical, it's very structured. You come in and you do this, you do these steps, you move up, you do these steps and you move up, and there's very little cells. In HVAC, we have lots of cells, and it's just like sporadic, all these different directions you can go. And some people
Yeah.
move up super fast and just be overwhelming for a lot of people. So that's why I say when we're doing training or helping people, and they're not interested in it, be talking to them about other things. And it's okay if somebody, leaves to go do something else. But if they're leaving because of our bad attitude, or we're taking home
Yeah.
problems to work, nobody, it's not helping anybody. It's not helping you. It's not helping, your apprentice or whoever you're working with.
No, and that's that's another thing too is you can get into HVAC and uh, in my opinion, you can find something that you might like. You can be working at a counter, you can be working sales, you can be a service guy, an install guy, a sheet metal guy. You can narrow it down, to a certain trait or expertise, if you will, and just do that. Or you can do a little bit of everything. Like there's variety, and I think that's what people look for is, they want to find what they like to do for the rest of their life, and it's different for everybody. For me, it's service. I really love the refrigeration side. I do a lot of commercial walk-in boxes, ice machines, that type of stuff, and that's what I like. And everybody's different.
That's right. And there's different stuff for different folks, right? That's the thing. But whatever you're doing, just be the best at it. Do it the best that you possibly can, and then you build those skills. Even if it's something you dislike doing. I despise duct cleaning, and that's a whole nother conversation. But when I did them, I made sure that I was doing them the absolute best that I could possibly do it, and that I tried to be that nobody else could do it better. So those are skills that you build, and nobody can take that away from you. You learn. Even if I learn there's reasons that I don't ever want to do one again, I did it, and so I learned the ins and outs and whys, and I read about it, and like, let's find out the facts about duct cleaning. Is it going to be an issue? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. But doing it all, instead of just taking a hard path of yes, it's always bad, or yes, it's always good, there's a lot more details in there, and that's what's cool about a lot of what we do. We want these like quick things of, oh, the TXV only do subcooling. It's like, no, 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 no. That's a good way to start, and it's important, but we have to look at superheat, or I don't, there's so many things that we just have these little shortcuts we do, like, oh, everything needs a hard start kit. It's like, well, you used to, but now we have scrolls. There's a lot of things, and then people get offended by that. It's like, no, I learned it that way. A lot of things I learned from some really awesome people that I will always respect. Some of the things they told me weren't completely true. And I've learned some of the things I've taught in classrooms I didn't teach correctly. And I learn later. I go to these other classes and I learn, oh, I did that wrong. And I can't go back to all those people and say, hey, I did that wrong. But I try to make a little video about it and post it. So when people get mad about it, about when I'm saying something different, I just try to remember that, I used to believe that same thing. And I used to really believe it because people that I cared about taught it to me. But it just goes back to, sometimes you have to go back to the books, or, things change. Like now we have pee oil versus mineral oil. And there's a lot of differences in that one thing alone. Or why don't they make them like they used to? Man, could you imagine us being on a cell phone or a dial-up phone right now? Like, oh, back in the day. Well, I'm kind of glad we have cell phones and digital information. So not everything built today is better, and not everything is bad either. So just adapt to it and learn, and help somebody else out whenever you can.
Yeah, it's a great point. Real quick, Josh, appreciate the super chat tip for Ty's jokes. He probably was referring to your vanilla ice joke. I'm pretty sure.
So speaking of leaks, we're talking about leaks in the coil.
Yeah.
Every time I go and get groceries with the wife, there's always leaks in the vegetable section. Like every time, it's right near the lettuce. It's always leaks. I'll let that one set in.
Okay. Well, I don't know if Josh is still in here, but he appreciates the jokes. Let me see. What were we talking about?
HVAC.
the whole hour. Let's see. We talked about you learn on the job then, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Or did
and going home, bringing the manuals home, and I had some people that were really great teachers, and some of those really great teachers were super frustrating. Like I had one guy it was Friday night, and I called and I had the wire from the blower motor that I couldn't find out where it went, and he said he made me look at the wiring schematic and figure it out, and he would not tell me what the wire was, and I knew he knew, and I was so mad. Oh, I was so mad. But that thing right there taught me so much because I it taught me forced me to go look at the wiring schematic, and then once I did it, it wasn't as scary anymore. And then I did it more and more, and then I realized, wow, this is a cool little trick. Like I have a shortcut here that nobody else knows about that the manufacturer usually puts on there, and that was a big step helping me understand electrical. So yeah, there's always something new to learn and something different. But just because whoever's training you or teaching you is aggravating you doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Um, it can be a very good thing. And so some of the people aggravating me the most, I learned the most from.
Yeah, I've been there. You get left to figure it out on your own, and that's sometimes that's the best way to learn these types of things is you being hands-on, figuring it out. Like you said earlier, getting frustrated, those will be imprinted in your memory there, and you'll never forget that.
I ask people sometimes in class, I'll say, who had a bad driving experience? And like everybody will raise their hand. Tell me about the car, the color of the car, where it happened, exactly. They'll tell you all of these details, right? They tell you every little detail, the driver and like everything. And then I say, okay, now tell me about all of the drivers that did really good, like the people that let you in, the people that didn't aggravate you. Tell me about all of those details, and they can't, right? They can't
Yeah.
because that aggravation made your mind remember it because it's aggravated. So it made you remember. It's a learning tool. So I in class we'll go out and do stuff to aggravate the students, not to upset them, but we'll go out and I'll have them do a task and I won't tell them how. Let's go pull a blower motor. I'm not going to tell anybody how. And they're frustrated. And some people figure it out. And some people go grab a hammer, like, no, 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 no hammer. And then I'll take them in the class and then we'll talk about how to do it. Then we'll go back out and like, oh, this is so much easier. Why didn't you tell us this the first time? It's because I wanted them to be a little bit, aggravated, a little bit frustrated so that when they got the answer, they would remember it long term.
Yeah, everybody's talking about your joke in the chat.
I have
um,
really bad jokes.
so so this whole the classes you teach and all that, do you teach anywhere in particular, or do you I know you travel a lot. Is this something you do when you travel? You teach?
I do. I volunteer at schools, meet people on the way. Sometimes there's companies that will pay me to come in. They'll pay me to come out of the way to come do a class for them. Sometimes I do classes for different individual companies or a supply house. Pay me to come in. I don't teach at a set school anymore. The very
Oh,
last
okay.
school I was working at, Las Vegas, was super aggravating, and there was a lot of things that were dishonest, and I just can't bring myself to go back into that. So some of the for-profit systems are out to hurt our trade instead of help our trade, and all they do is saddle people with debts. And so even though I'm helping people with that, I just can't be a part of saddling somebody with all this debt without them actually having the skills to be successful. So I don't see myself going back into a direct classroom anytime soon. And then there's some of the community colleges that have asked me to come work with them, which I'd be interested in. Except at
Hmm.
this point, I just really enjoy the nomad life. My wife and I, we love to travel, so we take as much of the year as we can, and we just live on the road, traveling around, seeing different things, meeting different people, and I get to do classes. So I feel like I still get to teach with my videos and YouTube and all the other stuff. I still get to teach and answer questions, and I can
Hmm.
really help a lot more people, I think. And then I still do work when we need to pay some bills, and then the rest of the time, let's just live on the road. I don't have anything to sell. I've had people like, if you sell this, we'll give you this much money, and I just don't. I don't have any problem with people that do. I don't want to be tied to that. And I just like to be free. So I'm not going to have a private jet. I'm not going to go around, getting paid $1 million or $300,000 to tell a company how to make their sales increase. And most of the stuff I do is free and volunteer, and it's okay. I think my goals and my riches are not of this world, and whatever people believe, that's fine. But some people like they want to have the private jets and money, and they go for that. And I see a lot of people are super stressed about that. And I'd rather be happier with fewer than more miserable with a lot more.
Yeah, we run a business down here, and it can be stressful at times. So, it's cool that you travel. I think I had seen it's probably on your Instagram. You have some hobbies. You like to off road. You like to camp. Are those your what you rather be doing? I guess.
I don't think it's rather be doing. it's one of the things that I just really like. So with ADHD, I'm seeing stuff like all the time, and my mind's running 1,000 miles a minute all the time. So when I do photography and I'm looking through the camera and the lens, it focuses me on one thing, and I can just look at one piece of information. So that's super relaxing. And then when I'm out in the mountains or on a beach or in the desert, and it's just me and my wife, and there's no phone service or anything else to worry about. We just get to really just be free and be happy, or we get to meet people. We're driving around, and whether it's just somebody we meet at the gas station, we strike up a conversation, or it's somebody that knows me on social media, or old friends, and we just get to go and hang out with them and just, have a beer, have a drink, and you get to see about their lives. Or if they have time, they'll show you around some of the cool things in their area. That right there is priceless. Like nothing else can touch that. When we're climbing in an old mine, we do mine exploration, which I don't do. It's stupid. We shouldn't do it. But me and my wife, we like it. So we risk our lives and go do some of these, crazy adventure things. And I think that's what, a lot of life is, an adventure. So I am a Toyota guy. I have a 1999 Toyota Tacoma that's needs repair. We're kind of tight in funds right now, but we're going to get it fixed, and we'll be back on the road hopefully next year, and do more exploring.
That's awesome. And everybody has their own definition of happy, successful, whatever it may be. Some people want to go and build that big fortune company. Some people want their free time to be free, and enjoy their other hobbies or whatever it may be. You don't have to be like married to HVAC 24/7. I love my job. I love fixing stuff. I love refrigeration in particular, the commercial side of things. But when I get home, I try to leave that at work. I know I run a business. I have to do little things here and there, paperwork, emails, phone calls when I'm here. But for the most part, I want to enjoy my family time, and I try to keep it separate. I have hobbies too. I'm into sports, other stuff. There's other things that I want to do. You don't like if you see us talk about HVAC and how much we love it and this and that, we really do. But a lot of us, we want our own lives outside of HVAC, right? So that's
You should
why I try to ask people about their hobbies and stuff, because there's more to life than what we do at work.
you should have a hook on your door by your house, and you should have a hook, a little plastic hook on the outside of your service van. So when you get home, you take your work problems and you put them on that hook before you go in the door. And then when
Hmm.
you're going to work, you should take your house problems and put them on that hook before you get in that van. It's crazy that when you get back home, there's not as many on that hook, and when the next day when you're going to work, there's not as many hanging on that service van door. So, we work to live, we don't live to work, and I love this trade. Like I everywhere we go, my wife gets we go to a new place, she gets aggravated. It's like, okay, go look at your ductwork, do a heat load calculation in your mind, and get it out of the way. And she knows to do that, and then she'll start talking to me because I know that I won't. I love her, and I try to give her as much attention as I can, but she's the way my mind works. So she
Yeah.
lets me, run my mind and explore. And then she's like, "Are you ready now?" I was like, "Oh yes." And then we'll talk about, whatever she wants to talk about, or we'll talk about the heat load stuff together because she works in the trade too. She does sheet metal with my dad, and
Oh,
she climbs up on roofs and tears ductwork out. And yeah, so she's super hard work. I think she works harder than I do now.
wow, that's interesting. So that's cool. That's a something that we don't, I guess, talk about too much. It's like you have this life at work, but you need to figure out how to separate it, how to keep the problems, like you said, both ways, because I've been there. You bring your troubles to work, and you don't have a clear mind to get your job done, and vice versa. You bring your frustrations home, and it affects your family. So, like you said, that's a good way to put it. Try not to keep the problems from interfering with each other, leaving them at the door. Good advice. And I think everybody needs to know that, needs to acknowledge that.
And it's easier said than done, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
something you have to practice. And sometimes I need people to remind me. And I have friends that will say, "Hey, Ty, yeah, I think you're going a little too far. Or you're leaning too far in one direction." And I have friends and people in my life that will that I can trust to acknowledge me. And I may not want to hear it at the time, but we need need that. And that's what's that community, that friends and those people that can come in and be like, hey, I think you need to calm down. I've had an argument one day. It was a couple years ago about some stupid thing, and a friend of mine, because ADHD, you focus on one thing. So if you have a problem, you focus like all of your energy in this problem, and you need an outside source saying, hey, let's step away from that, and it's okay. And that's why we have people in our lives, right?
Yeah. Uh, that's just one of those topics, we don't really talk enough about, but we're supposed to, tough it out, get over it, whatever it may be, and there's these things that we have to deal with, and I love what you're saying about your relationship. She knows how your mind works. She lets you deal with that first, and then you have your time with her. I kind of have the same type of relationship too, and it makes a world of a difference because, like you said, sometimes we're just hyper focused on something or whatever, and we need to just kind of figure it out a little bit or get over it and move on to the next thing, and then you'll be fine. So, good advice.
Yeah, my wife's in the chat, and she's definitely the better person in our relationship, because she knows me so well. So if I'm aggravated about something, she'll just like walk off and just and I have nobody to argue with. And it's like, okay, well, I guess it's gonna be done, because she won't argue. And it's she's super awesome. Like I don't know if I don't know how I lived so long without her, because she's been absolutely awesome in my life. So it's amazing. And then she's from Vegas. Like, she worked in an office, and she lived in the same city most of her life. And then from there, she quit her job, and we traveled. We travel a lot, and she lives out here in a barn with me, and we, go for night walks, with her spotlight and the dog, and then we go out, traveling again. And she's up for it. So yeah, it's pretty cool that she's able to give up so much of her life to go, hang out and do this crazy dream of ours.
That's awesome, man. And like you said, I know you're doing more online now than in person teaching, I guess, but it's a good reach. I'm glad that you're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know if you have anything else that you post on. Do you?
I think LinkedIn's the only other one. I don't do the Twitter thing. I don't understand how it works, and people get so
Yeah.
angry there. So I don't do that one. But no, I think TikTok's my favorite, because I can make a video that's over, like 3 minutes long, and have more time to really, talk about something in more depth, and I can reply to people with a video, which is cool. So it's more interactive. So I think that's my favorite platform of all. And then YouTube, of course, that's where most of our income comes from, is like, actually, YouTube. That's gives us enough to pay our basic bills, and then so everything else from that is for food and and travels.
Well, that's right. You're doing awesome on those platforms. I think you have a good reach. Uh, and this whole online community, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, you can reach so many people. I have so many people that even message me, and I'm like, what am I doing over here? But other countries, other states, it's all cool. Everybody learns from the way you do things, or however they want to uh, take your content. They learn something from it. That's a great feeling. I love it. So I love the content that you put out.
Thanks, and that's only because I have so many people helping me and still teaching me, and I'm still learning. So everybody has something they can do to help somebody else.
And okay, so you have a lot, like I said, you and Craig have a lot of these cutaways. Where do you get yours in particular? Because like you have so much compressors, valves, reversing valves, all this stuff. And a lot of it I don't get to see because we don't see heat pumps here. I don't see open compressors all the time. It's cool to see that, but where do you get this stuff?
So I've been collecting it when I'm teaching. So the schools don't ever have a budget for us to actually buy stuff. So I buy stuff myself to teach with. So it's just been a collection. But now most of my stuff I see now is I go to my junk pile or my friend's junk pile, and I grab stuff out, and people ask, "Hey, I want to see this." So okay, let's cut it open and let's show it real quick. The compressors, I think it's important for people to cut open. All you have to do is just cut that very top section. I'm going to move the camera. Everybody, hold on for a second. You
Mhm.
don't have to cut all of this down unless you want to make a cool display. If you just cut off this top piece right here, first drain the oil. So if there's no oil, then you know why it failed. But if there's oil, cut this off. Then you can take this top piece. This is the muffler plate.
Hmm.
You take that off, and that accesses the majority of the scroll. So by looking at this top piece, you can see if it's been signs of overheated. This one's all clean, so we're good. If it's been overheated, that's from high compression ratio. Then you just take these little Torx star bits off. There's usually 4 of them. And then you can see the guts. You can see the floating seal has been overheated. You can see all of the guts of the scroll. This one's still bolted, but all the guts of the scroll, you can see if it's been out of oil. And then when you take all that loose, you can see the top bearing. So if you know you had oil in the system and this is all worn out because of no oil, then that's from liquid floodback. So liquid floodback washes the oil away from this top bearing, and then this will be the one that wears out. Or you can see like this one, copper plating. It's bright and coppery. So just by cutting just that one part of the head off and taking those 4 bolts off, it'll tell you a lot about the system.
And that's awesome. Like I said, I've learned a little bit more, or actually been able to see from the cutaways that you guys do. Is there like a technique? Did you have to, kind of learn, or I can't even think of the word, but learn as you go how to cut these things open?
So the compressor, definitely want to wear safety glasses, gloves. I can tell you the bad story there. So make sure you're doing that, and then use a grinder with the protective blade on it, the cover, because my dad loves to take those off, and if that blade comes apart, it can be an issue. But yeah, just a 4.5-inch grinder blade, 2 of them. Keep the blade nice and steady. Take your time. Just cut all around the top. And then once that's done, I mean, that's your hardest part. And then if you don't have one of the Torx a star bit, usually a multi-point 5/16 wrench will loosen loosen it most of the time. And if not, you can just grind it off, just grind the top off. But that gives you access to see the main important parts of it. But really, just the first thing is draining oil. Like if there's no oil in there, well, you don't have to take anything else apart. Why is there not oil in the compressor? It's somewhere in the evaporator or the lines. Let's go find where the oil went, because otherwise the new one's going to have that same result. Now, if we did have oil, then let's find out why it failed. And so if we can find out why that motor failed, that compressor failed, we can save the life of the new one.
Yeah, good information. You said you traveled the world too, right? Because did you mention New Zealand?
Yeah, I spent about, I think it was a few months in New Zealand. I spent a year in Australia, a few months in New Zealand. I spent a month in Vietnam, a month in, let's see, the People's Republic of Laos, about a month in Thailand, a month or so, maybe it's 2, I can't remember, in China. Been through Canada and the Bahamas and Belize, and God, I can't think of all the places that I've been.
You've really been all over the world.
Not all
I
over.
asked.
I want to be.
I asked because Capital and Coast had mentioned. I guess he's from New Zealand, uh, and he would love to show you around if you're ever in his area.
Well, I definitely got to go back because I got to show Perla. But I hitchhiked there the entire around both islands of New Zealand, so it's definitely so much beauty in that country, and the people are so friendly and nice. And we would hitchhike, and people would just bring us over and let us stay at their house and cook meals for us. I mean, they're like the nicest people that I've ever met. They were so cool. And there's so much to see in such a short area. Like there's waterfalls that you see so many waterfalls. You're like, oh, look, another beautiful waterfall. It's like, it's just such a beautiful country. And I love that when I was there, anyways, their biggest issue was, and it was posted everywhere, was don't cook after drinking, because people would go home and they would start cooking, they would pass out, and it would cause fires. It was a legitimately real issue.
Oh,
But I was thinking, what a great country where that is your biggest problem. Like, don't don't go drinking and start cooking. Like I just loved it. It was such a great place to be.
that's awesome. I'm just gonna read off some of the comments that I've seen. Zachary, your heart is in teaching. That's where it needs to be in education. My hats off to you for that passion. And I know who is it? I don't know if they're asking you if you have a Patreon.
I started setting one up. I don't think I ever finished it. I keep getting asked that, and I need to just do it. So it's just a generational thing. Like, don't ask for help, and
Yeah,
so I need to just get over that, because it's just a stupid personal thing. So I just need to do it and just be thankful for the people that are donating, because I don't want to take that away from somebody. It's just, but I don't want to be like I'm asking for it too. So I need to just do that. I'll get it done this week. How about that? And then if anybody wants to, they can. If they don't, that's okay too. So, but we appreciate anything that anybody can do.
that's awesome. I can't find the comment, but somebody had asked if you or I think it was Capital and Coast from New Zealand. Do you have anything on the horizon coming up? Anything going on right now?
So I'm going to be teaching at the about Generation Z at the ACCA conference in Indianapolis, and then I'm going to be at Brian Orr's event in Florida, and that's in I think January, February, and then in I think it's March I'll be at the HVAC Educators Conference in Las Vegas, and so those are the only things we have planned. Everything else is going to be let's see what happens as we go.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I had seen like I've seen you at these events, like when you post on your social media. That's cool. You do these I don't know, you speak, you teach, you do all these different things out there, and it's spreading awareness, spreading uh information. So I appreciate that too.
And you're doing great. I mean, I love the fact that we have this community. Like you've come in and you've found a way to connect with so many people, and then all these people in the chat. I apologize, people. I can't keep up with everybody in here and all the names, but I mean, how awesome is that? There's people here on a on a Tuesday night, and they're here listening to HVAC, and they're wanting to learn more and about their careers. I mean, that's awesome. We didn't have that, back in my day. We just had the people at work that threw tools at you and yelled and talked about back in their day everything was better. And now we have these communities where people are supporting each other, and we can learn of other opportunities. I mean, I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, the chat. I try so hard. There's so many people in here, and I appreciate everybody who tunes in. I try to get through the chat. I know it gets overwhelming sometimes, and like you said, on a Tuesday night, I appreciate everybody who comes out on their free time. Right? They have to. A lot of these guys have to get up for work tomorrow, including myself, and I appreciate everybody who comes out. What was I gonna say? Matt here. Oh well, your point about the whole the being able to teach and not be yelling at the next guy, or your apprentice or whatever it may be. That's the other thing, is they always talk about the shortage of techs, of people, that we need more people to get into the trade. We also need people to stay in the trade, because I've heard so many like horror stories of like, oh, I didn't like it because of the senior tech or whoever it was. They didn't want they were afraid to lose their job, or they didn't want to teach the next guy or anything like that. We need to get rid of that as well, because just like we're trying to get people into the trade, we need to keep them, once they get in, we need to keep them in the trade as well.
That's right. And that's what we can do. I mean, so if another coworker is being like mean or whatever to somebody, I don't like to use that word mean, or just being obnoxious or rude to somebody, don't go to try to change the other coworker. Take that person, be like, hey, look, I can't change that problem, but if you have questions, come ask me and I'll answer them. And I know sometimes we got to get a job done, right? I mean, we have to get things done. We got the heats on us. We got to get it done, and that's okay. But just let them know, look, we're gonna knock this out. We're going to talk about the why later on the way home. Or if you do snap at somebody, say, look, you know what? I was stressed out. I apologize, because we're all human. Like, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to get mad or angry or frustrated. That's okay. But we also need to appreciate that we're working with humans. And let's say, I remember I was such an idiot back in the day. The people told me so many times, you're not going to be anybody in this trade. You should go do something else. And I was told that so many times. And we just got to be mindful that other people started out not knowing this trade. Nobody was born knowing HVAC. And it's just be mindful of other people, right? It's not about babying anybody. It's just, having some mutual respect. Just simply mutual respect. Respect the other person. And if they don't know something, we'll explain it to them. And if they didn't know it the first time, that's okay. So repeat it again, or find other ways of making it stick. It's okay. But just simply, my dad told me, everybody you meet, you give them a level of respect. And from that point, they can either build on that or they
Mhm.
can detract from that. But you give everybody a level of respect and go from there. And I think that's where we got to start. Is we get so from where we learned, having to protect our egos and all that, and we have to just be tough and rough, and and there's definitely some job sites that you have to have that. But we got to remember that, hey, we want to increase this trade and get good people in this trade. Let's start with taking care of them, because really you can go out and make more money delivering stuff now, or investing in other projects. So HVAC, when you start out, doesn't pay all that well. So if you only pay a low wage and you treat people like dirt, Well, no wonder that you end up with people that don't want to work and that aren't all that, motivated. So, we can't fix everything, but we can work with the people that are around us. We can help them. And I don't want anybody looking up to me for anything, but I'm hoping to inspire some people to think, hey, you can do something better. Because if I can do this with all of my learning disabilities and spelling errors and all this, if I can do this and figure this stuff out, anybody can. Because I know you guys out there are so much smarter than me, but just do what you can. Start doing what you can and keep learning and helping people, because that's what this world's really about. When the money and all said and done, it's going to be like, how did we help anybody else? How did we help mankind? How did we help our fellow community?
Yeah, and that's one of my, like little taglines now is like, "Hey man, if I can do it, you can do it." Like I was not great at school. I was not great at retaining stuff, but like, once it clicks, it clicks. You'll realize, some of the stuff that you learn in the beginning, makes more sense later down the line, and so on and so forth. And we're not all, like you said, we're not perfect. I've been that person where it's like, I have somebody riding with me. I get frustrated, on certain calls, and it's always I like to train or teach people the way I do stuff or whatever it may be. There's those calls that just get you sometimes. Like you're frustrated, it takes you longer than it should. It's a weird issue, intermittent issue. Like you're like, oh, like you're frustrated. And that's why I always tell people if your senior tech or whoever you're learning from is visibly frustrated, doesn't want to talk or anything like that during the call, yeah, back away, ask them on the way home or something like that, like on the drive or after the call. And more times than not, they're going to answer your questions after the fact, after they got it fixed, after they finished the job. They feel so much more relieved and open to talking. So that's another good point.
Yeah, I can't talk my way through a call. So if I'm doing something, I can guide people through it, but if I'm doing the work, it's my mind's running
Yeah,
so fast, I can't slow down to explain everything I'm doing, and I can't do it on camera like Chris Stevens. I don't know how he does that. He
I
records it
know.
and talk. I can't. I've tried that. I've tried to get footage. That's not my way. I can talk about it when I'm looking at it directly because it's just in my mind. But to a new problem I haven't seen before, yeah, that's just not my ability. So when I'm having to diagnose something, I need that clear mind space. And so I just tell people, give me a little bit of space, let me think my way through it, and then I'll explain it to you. And everybody's different. Like how people work and think and process information is different. So yeah, just being respectful of that. And if you're a new learner and you're working with somebody that's has got that chip on their shoulder, you can learn a lot from them. But first you got to get them to trust you. I used to carry tools for people, and I would never ask anybody to carry my tools. I used to carry tools for them, volunteer to ride at them on the weekends or when they're on call, and just sit there quietly. Sometimes you're in the truck and it's just this awkward silence because they're not saying anything, not to say anything. And then
Yeah.
eventually they start, I'm going to show you this little shortcut nobody else knows, or, and you can eventually
Hmm.
break them down. So as much as I want people to be teaching other people, on the same time, new people coming in have to realize there's multiple generations ahead of you and there's a lot of set in your way stuff, and you have to get them sometimes to open up to trust you. So we both got to come together. I'm not blaming any one side,
Hmm.
but we both sides have to come together and to work together and learn.
That's a very good point. It goes both ways, and I hope people understand that. And if you like we were talking about, if you can't get the answer during the call or when you're working there, if you're working with somebody, ask afterwards. Ask questions afterwards. And people always say, ask questions, ask questions. Sometimes you need to wait because you might be irritating that person, but you can ask your questions later. It's either you ask them during or you ask them after. It's either one. There's no right or wrong way about it. It's just, know who you're with and how to read, the room, I guess.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Eric, Adrian, check out color codes. Once you understand them, you can communicate better with different personalities. Made a huge difference in my training and management.
I have that book. It's a training guide for that. Yeah, the different color codes of how people, the personalities, and the general how the people think, because we think that everybody thinks like we do. Well, you should
Yeah.
do that because that's how we are. So understanding those other, I think there's 4 basic ones. It's been a while since I've gone through it, but definitely I highly recommend that because it definitely makes a difference. And somebody asked where I got my sign from. It was I think it was an Amazon thing. It was like It was like $40, and I don't promote Amazon, but that's just where I got it from. It was super cheap, and it was like, oh, I like it. I don't care if anybody else does. I like it.
Let's see. I think that was it. And yeah, the whole book thing, like I need to check out like that one, Color Codes, and one you mentioned earlier from, I think you said Brian, right?
Yep, Brian Orr.
Unconformed.
And it's really inexpensive, and there's so many. You could go through this book a few times and get tons of information, but I think it's my favorite book. And like I said, there's an audio version you can get, super affordable. Buy has different perspectives. If you like it, that's okay. It's fine. We can disagree. It's okay. Nothing wrong.
Yeah, because I have like I have my textbooks from my classes and different things behind me in a bookshelf, but I wanted to, because somebody on my other show recommended a book, and then like now here in the chat, and then the one you were talking about, I need to get into these little books to read, in my downtime. Let's see. Tom, I've had so many people ask to work for me for free. They just want to learn, but the liability is so high around commercial stuff, ladders, large moving fan belts. Same here. I have a lot of people now that I guess I have enough viewership and things. I have a lot of people that are local to me, and they just want to learn. And I feel very bad because I'm like, I run a business. I can't have that, like Tom says, that liability. Um, but I need to figure out a way. But this whole YouTube, TikTok, all this stuff, it's the easiest way that we can kind of pass on knowledge for free. Honestly, I mean, there's so much free information out there, like you, Craig, and Brian Orr, that are like educational, and there's plenty of guys that show how it is in the field, which is what I try to do. Like sometimes the book stuff might not match the infield stuff, and you might have to think on your feet a little bit. So the best way for now is to learn for free on the internet wherever you can. And yeah, and I get you, Tom. I've had so many people that, and it's good to see that. Good to see the the want to learn and the drive and all that. But it's hard. I if I could, I would hire everybody that comes to me, but it's not that easy. Oh, we got LED handyman. I can't remember his name right now, but he said he met you, and I saw you all posting pictures. I forgot where it was.
That was the Natural Refrigerants Conference, or yeah, I think it's Natural Refrigerants Conference in California. That was
There you
that was
go.
cool. I learned so much stuff there. That's a big thing. There's so much stuff to learn. CO2 and all the natural refrigerant stuff, and it's like, wow, it just gets overwhelming sometimes. But it's fun. It's exciting. Like there's something new around every corner.
Yeah, I know. I had Brett Wetzel on here a few weeks back, and I was like, dude, talk to me about the CO2 stuff because I know nothing about that.
He's a cool guy. We talk all the time. He's always got some new thing, and he gets to work with stuff that I don't have any access to. So when he talks about, hey, Ty, you know this? I'm working. I said, Brett, back up a little bit because I've never seen what you're talking about. So you gotta explain it to me first, and then we'll talk about it. But it's great to have somebody like that, who's sharing this information, because there's not that much heavy commercial stuff out there, and he's on that podcast sharing information. So awesome that people are doing that.
Oh, and here, Total Tech, thanks for your enthusiasm. It's inspiring. I don't know where you get the energy to do all this and have that positive. It always comes out in your videos. Like there's no way around it, and I love it. I just don't know how you do it.
I just love this stuff. I don't know that there's anything else. It's just I get excited about it, and it's just been a great trade. Why not share the good stuff that happens? Now there's tough times, but who cares? Nobody wants to hear somebody complaining. Like honestly, you get the friends on Facebook that you care about them, but they're always negative. So eventually you just stop listening to them. So nobody cares about the negative stuff. Let's just share the positive stuff. I mean, that's all that really all we can do. There's plenty of negative out there. The news, the media, the newspapers, like there's always something going. It's the end of the world every single day. So hey, let's share
Yeah,
some positive stuff.
yeah, and that's what gets me too. Is like I try to keep all that negative stuff out, and I'm better for it. It's I don't see a point in having anything negative in your day to day. Bringing you down, getting you more stressed out, anything like that. So definitely, the way to live is to be positive. Tom here. See you at Brian Ors Symposium if you're going this year.
I will be there. That's my favorite event of all of them. I mean, that's my favorite one.
I will say I bought the digital ticket uh, last year so I could see you because I know you were presenting and stuff, and I enjoyed it. Lots of great speakers at that one. I hope I can go to one of them in the near future. We'll see if that comes around, but uh, that one is more like it's a little more personal. It's not as crazy as AHR and all that, and I think I would enjoy that one a little more because the AHR ones are fun, but they are very overwhelming.
AHR is the first time you go, just don't plan on anything and just walk through the exhibit hall. Don't plan on any classes or just go to the exhibit hall and go quickly because you got 3 days, you're not going to see everything. So the first time, just no plan, just go through it, just soak it in. And then the next time you can plan some things to see. But it is awesome. Eric asked if about training to go to anything you can
Yeah.
go to anything you can go to that you can learn. What is your local, even if it's a one of those sales things at a supply house, there's still information that you can get out of that. Just if it's a sales thing, make sure that you're looking up the information because there's a lot of stuff out there that's really good marketing that doesn't always, it's not always truthful, but you can still learn something. So the HVAC Educators Conference in Las Vegas, that one helped me a lot with teaching and understanding other instructors had these same problems. Brian Orr's event, connections, the personal people, the conversations, people that can disagree, industry experts that can disagree about something and still, talk about it and go out later. And sometimes it gets heated, like, like, oh my gosh, are they mad? And then later they're out having dinner and laughing. And, that is so awesome. And just being around, good friends and you seeing the people in face, that's really awesome. But there's so many good conferences. Like I went to the first natural refrigerants conference and a lot of that stuff's outside of my day-to-day stuff, but I loved it. I mean, it was anything you can do. Let's just break it down to whatever you can do, just keep learning.
Yeah, like you were talking about supply house. I was going to bring that up too. Like if they have anybody in there that gives good information, just take it. It's there for you to take. And they also have free food most of the time. We would do like the ice machine stuff when Manitowoc would do the trainings, collect as many little manuals as you can or whatever freebies they give out. And anything you can, just anything you that pertains to your field, take the initiative to go and attend if it's close enough to you. If like here we had a lot of them that come by, ice machines, different manufacturers that come through. Any of the supply houses will do stuff from time to time. So uh, definitely helped me a lot when I started was just going to these things and going through the manual. They'll have equipment there and they'll let you look at it. They'll explain anything new that's coming out. So those are good to go to. Let's see. There we go. Thanks. You guys are both very inspirational. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So, anything else you want to
Oh,
sign off on?
we could talk all night. Like,
I'm
but
trying. I'm
imagine
trying not to keep up. I mean, I'm trying not to keep everybody up all night either. But that's definitely true. I don't even think I got through all my talking points, honestly. But if I bring up anything that I have left on this board, it's probably going to have us talking like for a couple more hours. So maybe another time we'll do this. It was great having you on here. A lot of great content and knowledge that you pass on.
I really appreciate you for having me on here and introduce me to your community. A lot of the people I see in other groups and new people I see on here, and that's just really cool. That's what it's ultimately about. This community of stuff. I love it.
Yeah, and that's what keeps me coming back every week. I never planned for this to be like an actual legit podcast or anything or a weekly thing, but these guys keep showing up and I know they love you and they appreciate what you do. I know a lot of people are excited to have you on the show today. So like I said, thank you for coming out, taking your time or taking time out of your evening. It was great talking to you. And like I said, I love the content, loved all the TikTok videos and YouTube.
Thanks, man. Keep it up. Keep up the great work. Everybody keep up the great work. Have a great one.
Everybody inspire somebody or each other and let's keep this thing going. I'm gonna cue the outro. I have to stay for that, so you can stay, dip out, whatever you need to do. But I'll see you guys.